Sixers. 10, 9, 8, 76ers.
What's going on, everyone? This is UK 76ers. My name is Ben Glasspool, and the night before last, the Philadelphia 76ers lost to the Memphis Grizzlies by 116 to 100. Quickly, I'm just going to rattle through the shout-outs because I just want to get straight into this game. This was so infuriating. So shout-outs, USA Sports Merch, Big Four Leagues from the United States. I got all your teams covered. Check them out in the link below. Using the code to get a discount, it helps me out a lot as well. Visible provided me once again some great stats. Not that I really wanted to look at these stats any more than I did, but I did go through them nonetheless, and they were enlightening, even if they were frustrating. On top of that, I have released my own bit of merch, which again will be linked below. Similarly, myself and Sixers Bobby have released another podcast, Processing from the UK, which will too be linked below, and we'll have another one coming up for you shortly. So let's talk about this game. This was horrible. This was absolutely horrible. So I've been supporting the Sixers since 2018, since March 2018, and since then I've probably watched about 90% of the games, if not more. This was the first one I just turned off after the third quarter. You just had a feeling the whole way through when you were watching the game unfold that it wasn't going to be our day, that nothing was falling for us, there was no sort of fluency to how we were playing. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes, perhaps your shots aren't going for you, and sometimes you're not playing your best. In an 82-game season, in this season, 72 games, but in an 82-game season, you're bound to have off days, especially on the second of a back-to-back. But again, in the Timberwolves game, we weren't playing that brilliantly, and Embiid bailed us out. We didn't have Embiid this game, and we were terrible. Absolutely terrible. I don't care if we didn't have Joel Embiid. This was inexcusable. Now, there has to be at least an appreciation that you're going to have these games, as I alluded to before, but this was horrible. The worst performance I've seen the Sixers play in the short time in which I've supported this team. Every little issue that this team has became apparent in this game. And I'm not going to hit the self-destruct button. I'm not like, oh, we can't do this, that, and the other. We're not going to get the 1 seed. We're not going to get to past the second round. We're not going to do that. I still very much believe in what we're doing. I still very much believe in what this team can do. But I still don't like what I saw. What's annoying is that it's seemingly the same issues that keep rearing their head. There's issues on the coaching side of things as well, which I will touch on. But for me, the issue which annoyed me the most is the intensity. It was Ben Simmons, to be quite frank, and this is very reminiscent of the Ben Simmons we saw at the start of the season. Do I still think he's a good player? Of course I do. Is this a blip? Yes, of course I think it is. Is he going to perform more often than not? Yes. But there has to come a point where he realizes he needs to start scoring a bit more. Now, Doc said, he's not with a scorer, trying to take the pressure off Ben Simmons. I know what he's trying to do. But the thing is, if you ISO ball Ben, which is what we do, that means he's your scorer. If you ISO a player, it means you're doing that so you have your guy against their guy who is most likely to score. You can't dress it up. There's a reason why Danny Green doesn't get ISO'd. There's a reason why Dwight Howard doesn't get ISO'd. But there's a reason why Tobias Harris, Embiid, and Simmons get ISO'd because they're our best offensive talents and they're the ones that should be scoring points. Ben Simmons doesn't score points. It comes in waves with him. Sometimes he's like, yeah, I'm going to go do this, that, and the other. I'm going to get aggressive. I'm going to go to the free throw line. I'm going to do this and do that. Other times he's just like, nah. There was one play which stuck out to me. Look, there were some obnoxiously poor plays on him. But for me, this was a subtle show of the lack of intent. It was open court, a 3-on-2, I want to say. And for all the one, just drive through, get fouled, go to the hoop. No one's going to stop you. One of those two outcomes will occur. You're going to get fouled, go to the line, or you're going to go through and score. He then kicks it out to Danny Green for 3. And look, Danny Green's been fantastic recently, but the laws of odds suggest the easiest way to get points on that play is to keep driving rather than kick it out. And that makes you wonder, why is he doing that? Why is it when you're 6'10", 6'11", running at pace in the open court, you're thinking, I'm going to pass to Danny Green, not I'm going to absolutely run through these guys? It was just it was mind-boggling. And that was, for me, a real show of intent of what Simmons' mindset was at for this game. And indeed, maybe for the last few games. Inexcusable. I don't know what he finished on, and to be quite frank, I'm not too fast about the box scores. I will give Tobias Harris a brief pass because he was the one that seemingly gave it down and did his best. I think he finished on 20 points, nice sort of post play, the usual sort of Tobias Harris stuff you've seen this season, but it's not enough for one guy to just turn up. And Ben Simmons isn't playing well. When the facilitating isn't quite there. when if it's apparent from the offset that he's not going to drive, which means they can focus more on our shooters, the likes of Danny Green, the likes of Seth Curry, that they can't get the looks, then we're going to struggle, especially when we haven't got a backup playmaker. And this is no issue. This is no fault of Tyrese Maxey or George Hill. They're injured. They have COVID protocols. There's nothing you can do about that. But my word, why isn't this getting sorted out? Why is it that, okay, fine, we haven't got a playmaker, we haven't got a backup playmaker, you then say to Seth Curry, say to Shake Milton, you guys are going to have to share the load between you. Not, let's have Furkan Korkmaz dribble the ball up. I mean, Jesus Christ, how many people are going to keep falling for this Furkan stuff? I've had enough of it. Look, he has some nice spurts here and there, but we all know what he is, and he sure as hell is not a playoff player. We need to get some guys in ASAP. Just actual playoff pieces. Why we still have Mike Scott's contract? Look, I don't want to get too hit on Mike Scott because I know people were having a go at him for getting dominated by Valanciunas. Valanciunas is 6'11", probably has 30, 40 pounds on him. Mike Scott's 6'7", and all Mike Scott could do was just draw him out of the paint and hit threes, which for the most part he did. It's not Mike Scott's fault that Valanciunas had the better of him, because Mike Scott is not a 5. He can play there in small spurts if the matchup's correct, but not like this. He was doomed to fail, so I'm not going to get too much in his case. That being said, how he's still on this roster, I do not know. You had an expiring contract, $5 million, and you couldn't find a move for the guy. You couldn't find someone who's more useful. You couldn't go out and get another center. Look, if you know you're going to get rid of Tony Bradley, which I understand the move. Look, it's all fun and games having Tony Bradley. He was a good guy to have around, and it was a bit of a shame he had to go. But getting George Hill in return, yeah, that's fine. That's cool. But if you know Dwight can't start at center, as for what the reasons we saw early on in the season, that he's better coming off the bench, that because of the minutes and because of the way in which he fouls, he can't play starter minutes, you've got to go out and get another center. You've got to find a way to go do that. Now, Gorgie Jeng was available, gone to the Spurs, maybe his heart was set on the Spurs. Why on earth didn't you go out and get him? I expect Kelly Olynyk to go out and become available soon. You've got to go after him. Because the thing is that, firstly, it gives us more playoff depth, but also, we're not going to play Embiid every game. It's going to be every other game or so, which I'm completely okay with. I'm absolutely all for that. That's fine by me. Rest up Embiid. It doesn't matter about the MVP award. It doesn't matter about any of that. All that matters is that he is fit for the playoffs. But at the same time, we also want to get for that number 1 spot. And if we want to try and get that number 1 spot without Joel Embiid, we need an actual center to start. And have Dwight come off the bench and alternate with that guy. It's issues that have been swept under the carpet because we've done so well recently, and you've got to give them credit for that. But we all knew that these issues would re-emerge soon enough. Furkan Korkmaz did not just turn into a great 3-and-D winger all of a sudden, and he won't be. I don't trust his shot at all. At all. It's the most inconsistent 3-point specialist I've ever seen. But we didn't lose because of Furkan Korkmaz, but it's just these are the same issues that keep, coming forward once again. And if I can see it, why the hell is no one else seeing it? Doc's getting too stubborn with his moves. Not playing Paul Reed at the 5. We had a period when in the front court was Dwight Howard and Paul Reed. Then we had Matisse Thybulle. That's 3 people right there who can't shoot the 3. Look, Matisse has been improved from the 3, but yeah, you're going to let him shoot. You're happy to let him shoot. Those lineups can't happen. You either play Paul Reed at the 5 or not at all. Or you play him at the 4 with Mike Scott at the 5. You don't play him with Dwight, and you certainly don't play him with Matisse as well. Look, you guys know I've got a lot of time for Matisse, but we all know his limitations. Some of the rotations just don't make sense. When you go all bench and you get absolutely hit for 6. What was the lineup? It was Milton, Korkmaz, Matisse, Reed, and Dwight. So essentially, you've only got Milton that can score. Korkmaz is very much a 1-in-3 sort of player. In terms of one game he might turn up, the other 2 he'll be absolute dross. This was one where he was absolute dross. It was just. You knew what was coming from the offset. This looked like, okay, it's game, set, and match very, very early on, hence why I turned it off in the 3rd quarter. And even in that second, it came to the end of the second, we were 10 points behind. The refs made some terrible decisions, but we didn't lose because of the refs. We lost because we were terrible. We were 10 points behind, 52-42, 42 points at the half at the Wells Fargo Center. Not good enough. And it also, you've got to give some credit to the Grizzlies, but at the same time, we lost because of ourselves, not because of the Grizzlies. Ja Morant was relatively quiet, but why did they win? Why did they win you us? Because we gifted them the 3-point line. We said, there you go, here's the 3-point line. Have a way with it. Grayson Allen, one of the most insufferable players in the NBA, and I think that's felt unanimously around the whole league. Probably even Grizzlies fans agree. He's just a horrible guy, and he was going off like he was some sort of all-star player. Dylan Brooks was giving it large. I can't knock it. I think he's a decent player, but simmer down, mate. Everyone was just seeming to hit their threes. D'Anthony Melton, and we just gifted it to them. They were coming off picks, and they were coming. It's the same roles routine. They were coming off picks. They have a wide open look, and we're just like, here you go. It was obvious what their game plan was from the early, and that was to push us. That was to run the ball as quick as you can, make plays, play as quick and as humanly possible, and have their looks available to them as a result of our poor transition defense, which has been a feature of our season throughout. And they tore us apart. In literally every issue that I've raised in these videos, pick and roll defense, transition defense, defending the 3-point line, Memphis exploited all three of those. It really isn't rocket science, and all it takes is someone, I'm sure Taylor Jenkins has, watched some of our games, realize how to get past us. It's not that hard. Push us in transition, pick and rolls, the 3-point shots come your way so long as you can drain them. I know Utah had quite a bit of joy against it because they roll a similar sort of scheme, and it was just inexcusable for me. No, I don't have much to say on the rest of the game because I only watched the 2.5 quarters. You come out the third and you're like, we have to start the strongest, otherwise it's not going to be our day. They got a 9-0 run, 3 threes. Embarrassing. Now, the Grizzlies are a good team. But what was embarrassing isn't necessarily that we were losing. It was how we were losing. It was how we were just rolling over and letting it happen. When their best player wasn't even performing that brilliantly. When their second best player, Jaren Jackson Jr., wasn't even available to play. And their third best player, Jonas Valanciunas. Well, if your third best player is Jonas Valanciunas and you're still absolutely storming us, we've got an issue here. A real issue, and it's application. And we didn't create anything because there's no one else out there that can create. It was the floor was small. It was so lackadaisical. It was sluggish. It was as if we didn't realize we actually had a shot clock going. And then before you know it, 5 seconds left. We're on the edge of the perimeter. No one's moving. No one's cutting. No one's doing anything. And then you throw up a prayer, hope it goes in. And more often than not, it didn't. It was disgraceful. It really, really was. Look, this doesn't, like I said, it doesn't change my perception of the season. I still expect moves to be made in the buyout market. I really want a big. I just go get me Kelly Olynyk. Really, just go get me Kelly Olynyk. Gorgie Jang would have been a better option. Go get me Kelly Olynyk. He can at least play the backup 4, a bit of 5, and then we don't have to play Mike Scott in the long run in the playoffs. Go get me Wayne Ellington so I don't have to play Furkan Korkmaz again. And just go get another shooter if you can, if there's one going. Otto Porter Jr., I don't care. Go get players. We should have got Wayne Ellington in the trade deadline through some sort of move. I don't know how, but it would have been, I don't know, Furkan Korkmaz as a second rounder. I didn't even care. That would have been fine. Mike Scott, maybe throw that in there and just try and get someone else back. The moves were there to be made, and for whatever reason we didn't. Now, I trust Daryl Morey 100% to do something, and I'm sure he knows what he's doing better than anyone else does on the Philadelphia networks. But Jesus Christ, just go get something sorted ASAP. That was just horrible to watch. Now, we'll probably go on and we got the Boston Celtics next. I really hope we do. We'll probably go on and win that game. At least I hope. And then all these reactions will subdue, and perhaps we won't be as angry. But the thing is, so long as I keep seeing these issues, even in wins, then we're going to have problems. Because when I see that, what I saw against Memphis on that Monday night, was it Monday night? Monday night, Sunday night, one of the two. When I see performances like that, it's inexcusable. When it's down to application, when it's down to the other team simply wanting to win more than you, when it's down to your best player not standing up to be counted, that's not good enough. Not good enough at all. Like I said, we've got the Boston Celtics this evening. Embiid will be playing. I am all for resting Embiid for that Memphis game, even in hindsight. I care about his fitness and his fitness alone. Nothing about personal accolades. Of course, I want that number 1 spot, but at the very least, we're going to get that 3 spot. But still, I still expect us to get top 2, really. Of course, I want that 1 spot, and that'll be something to work for in the regular season, but it will be made easier to work for if we get some moves made in the buyout market. Anyway, Boston Celtics this evening. I'm sure my mood will be, hopefully my mood will be changing in less than 24 hours, and I'll be on here talking to you guys about a great win against the Celtics once again in the Boston Garden. But we shall have to wait and see, because if we get at the 3-point line as well as like we're doing at the Grizzlies, well, Jaylen Brown's going to go off, as he so often does. Kemba Walker's going to have his only good game against the Sixers, which is all he does nowadays. He's terrible against all 29 of the teams apart from the Sixers, so I expect him to have a good one. And Fournier is just another one of those guys that randomly does well against us, I swear. Tatum goes out saying, but I hope Simmons can have the better of him. But just switch on. That's all there is to it. Just switch on, and we'll make moves sooner or later, I guess, because that's just not good enough. It really isn't. That's all from me, guys. It was a bit of a rant, I guess, this one. But this one really, really frustrated me, and I'm sure it frustrated a lot of you guys. Like I said, it hasn't changed my long-run sort of perception of what the Sixers can do, but I still find off games like that inexcusable. I don't mind the odd loss. Sometimes losses happen. Losses like that, no. That's not good enough. Anyway, thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you all next time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.